You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to watching the Financial Survival Network. Well, is housing coming back? Have we seen the housing lows? Federal Reserve, are they going to pivot or just keep things where they are for a while? And we've seen a little bit of activity, a little increase in the housing stock sector. Companies like Pulte, like Toll Brothers, companies like that, Lennar, all seem to be off their lows. Housing stocks always very sensitive to interest rate fluctuations. What's going to happen next? Let's get the word from somebody who's on the ground actually making loans and closing sales. Debbie Bloyd, dlbmortgageservices.com. Debbie, great to have you back. So what's going on in the great state of Texas in the real estate market?
You know, people are back out looking for new homes. So what's happened is that, all these people had to rent last year because they were in a fight for their lives for like 20 different homes, 20 different people bidding on the same house, overpaying $20,000, $30,000, $100,000 for homes. And it was absolutely crazy. A lot of people got out of the game, just decided to lease something. And now those leases are up and they're starting to look again. Just this weekend, I sat in 2 different open houses that I have a dual life, Kerry. I have real estate and mortgage side. And so I sat in the houses as a real estate agent, got these houses under listing for me. And so I got to talk to everybody that was coming in from a lending point and a real estate point. Most of them are coming out pre-approved. They know the game. They're finding that they're doing that in advance to make sure they're paying the right price now that interest rates have scared them. But almost all of them are coming out of a lease from either selling their house last year, trying to find something new, failing miserably, and just got into a lease. And now they're all back out looking again. Wow.
So, when you look at it, even though interest rates might be high, we're like high sixes now? Is that the average 30-year?
Yes. Mid sixes. So I saw somebody this weekend said they're at 6%. Yeah, you can buy them down to that. You can buy them down to 5.5%. But you can't usually have a number that you're trying to hit and buy down rates. A lot of people just don't have that kind of extra money to spend.
Right. Okay. So at that rate, I guess there's still activity. What's that doing to prices? Prices stabilize? They come down a little bit? Where are they at?
Well, it depends on who's selling and what their story is. So like I have one house that an investor bought and flipped. He's kept it really high because he doesn't really need to sell it anytime soon. So he's going to write it out and try to get his top dollar. I've got another couple that found a house they want to move to. We have a contingency offer. That means they've got to sell their house fast. They came down $20,000 in the last 2 weeks so they could try to move their house. We've got one more weekend to keep that house on the market. And then we're going to run out of time with the house they really want to get to. So they're lowering the price because they have somewhere to go. Now they're motivated.
Motivated sellers, my favorite kind. Certainly
Exactly.
When I'm the buyer, that's for sure. You always want a motivated seller. So rates, you think they've stabilized for now? You think they're going a little higher? Because obviously a couple of, at least 2 increases from the Federal Reserve are kind of already out there, baked in the cake, and that'll probably be the end if in fact those rates ever actually take place.
Well, what usually happens is because the lenders that I work with, I'm a broker, so all the lenders that I work with, they actually kind of bake that into their rates now. So if the Federal Reserve was to go up 1/8 of a point or 1/4 of a point, they've already taken that into consideration. Most lenders have sent me out emails giving me a breakdown of saying, okay, so until March, we'll give you an extra 1/8 of a point off when you lock a rate with us. So I have to give that to the borrowers. It's not like I can keep it, but I can actually quote a little bit lower. So will this go past March? I don't know. I think they've already baked that one in. So they're trying to give us a discount in anticipation of what the Fed's going to do. Not that the Fed's already done it, but they're ready. They're ready this year.
One and
I
done?
think this year they're poised for that.
So one and done, huh? You thinking?
Yeah.
That's your take?
I think so. I think that inflation is going to be around. We've had a lot of layoffs in the news. And so everybody is calling saying, what's going to happen to all the layoffs? Well, those people are going to have to find new jobs. I hope they've saved some money.
If they can. Often easier said than done here, Debbie. And with no job, you get no mortgage, right?
I had a family this weekend that the gentleman was 58. He was a medical sales guy. He got laid off because that division is going away. However, they're marketing, they're not going to be doing it any longer. And so his wife called me and she's like, well, we need to refinance our house. We've got one more child to send to college. We need to tap into our equity. Like you can't qualify without his income. She goes, you know how hard it's going to be to find a job for a guy that's 58? And I'm like, well, he's got to get some kind of job for you to tap into that equity. You're going to have to sell the house.
Well, there's always Uber.
Do what?
You can't make any money at Uber, but at least you can pretend you're making money.
Well, there are other jobs. The problem, I think, Kerry, is a lot of people think that they're at a certain caliber and they're not going to take a job that's less than that, even if it's temporary, due to pride, due to a lot of things. But due to pride, you can lose your house too because you can't make payments. There's a point where you take a job just so you can keep everything going. So I think that's what, we have to look at. If you don't have the reserves saved up or can tap into those, and it's all in the equity of your house and you have to refinance that's why I would tell people the American dream is not to pay off the house anymore because you're going to need to tap into that somehow. And selling is not always the best option under duress. Never.
On the one hand, it is attractive to pay off your mortgage and say, well, then all I got to do is pay the utilities and the taxes and the HOA fees if you have one. But on the other hand, is that always the wisest move?
Well, it's hard to tap into that equity, so your choices are to refinance, and you can do that as long as you still qualify. You don't have a job, you can't qualify. So now you're left to selling it. A lot of people have this really crazy emotional attachment to selling their house. And I know it's all the memories from all the past and all blah, blah, blah. But I'm a numbers girl, right? So, if you need the money,
cynical.
you need the money. You can't go down the river and not expect to hit the falls at some point. So you've got to divorce yourself from that feeling that you're losing everything and hang on to what you've got, because this is what I talk about all the time. You've got to have money in reserves. You've got to have money saved for a rainy day because it's going to rain. You just never know when. It could be a job loss. It could be a health issue, but you're always going to encounter that.
Yeah, no, I could not agree with you more. And that's why you got to save for a rainy day and you got to be ready for the unexpected. The only constant in life is change. We know all that, but
they don't do it.
Doing it, right? Yeah, it's a tough one to do. All right. So question is now, do you wait or do you just take the plunge?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Goldterra Resource Corp is a gold exploration company that has assembled a highly prospective district-scale land position on the doorstep of the city of Yellowknife in Canada's Northwest Territories. Goldterra is currently focused on expanding and delineating gold resources at the company's Yellowknife City Gold Project, with a goal of discovering over 5 million ounces. With ready access to infrastructure and multiple high-grade gold discoveries, Goldterra is on track to re-establishing Yellowknife as one of the premier gold mining districts in Canada. Goldterra trades as YGT in Toronto and YGTFF on the OTC. For more information, go to goldterracorp.com. That's goldterracorp.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network. The information you need to thrive now more than ever.
Well, it depends on your personal story, right? So if you're going to be a renter and you're going to be moving around the next couple of years, rent. If you're going to be stable for the next 3 to 5 years, buy. You're paying the mortgage. If you're a renter, you're paying the mortgage of someone, whether it's a big apartment complex you're paying off, or you're paying off Bob, that's your landlord's rental house. You're making someone's mortgage. You might as well make it your own. But if you're not going to be there 3 to 5 years, just rent. It costs money to buy and sell homes. So if you don't have that baked in, you're going to lose money. So again, we don't know what 3 years holds. It could get a lot worse than now, or it could be a lot better than now. But either time, you've got to have somewhere to live. So, a lot of people, we do have loans, Kerry, that are 100% financing. FHA has 100% loan. VA has 100% loan. So there are ways, even if you don't have a lot of money down, that you can still qualify. USDA loans have 100% financing. Some have income restrictions. Sometimes they don't. USDA has income restrictions and location restrictions. VA doesn't. FHA, I've got a mom and her daughter buying a house together so they can have more buying power, but they only have enough for closing costs. So we're giving them 100% financing FHA loan.
Right. Well, that's a good thing. So,
it's a higher interest rate, but it's better than renting.
One nice thing, I find a real reason to become a realtor, and I've done it myself in the past, is you broker your own purchase, and then whatever the closing costs are, basically you wind up getting a check after the closing, your commission, which you financed, and pays your closing costs pretty much, right?
Yep. I bought my townhouse last year that way. So I had my own commission. Never would have found this place had I not been taking clients around trying to find them a home. So I thought, well, that's awfully cute. I could use that. I'll just buy one of those for me.
Yeah, why not? And then if you can get the seller to pay the closing costs, which isn't a stretch in this market,
not today.
You can wind up, and they give it to you after the closing. You wind up walking away with cash in your pocket from a purchase, right?
You do, and there are people, Kerry, that are not fixing up their homes. They're just going to sell them as is. And those are great to pick up if you're an investor. You can pick those up, and you can also improve them yourself. I'm selling a house right now that needs new carpeting upstairs and a bathroom redo. So we're giving $10,000 to make that happen. Now, the guys that are buying the house, they don't have to fix everything up with that money. They can use it to buy down points or to pay their closing costs. But we know it's not a picture perfect, HTV, Instagram house. So we're giving you money to make it that way.
Hey, so let me ask you a question. I got a question from Jenny recently to me.
Okay.
One of my FSN community members, and she's thinking about buying a house to Airbnb it. What's your feeling about that?
Well, it depends on what your take is on the next few years. I think Airbnbs are not going anywhere, but if the economy goes down, you don't have as many people vacationing. But I do see the Airbnb people with all their stories that, they're rented out. So there's still a fair amount of people that are out there traveling and would rather stay with their whole family at an Airbnb than they would at a resort or paying all those high costs or at a hotel. So I have, it depends on what location she's in. If they have a lot of visitations, that's great. So, if there's a lot of Airbnbs in the area and she's better than them with a better price, she's going to get traffic. If there's not a lot of Airbnb traffic in that area, can she push that traffic there herself? Because I find that people want to go to a destination. Although people come here to Dallas all the time and they want to buy a house, but they get an Airbnb rather than a hotel because it's cheaper until their house is ready. So there's all kinds of scenarios. I think if you have the money to put down as an Airbnb and your HOA or your neighborhood allows it, you can rent it out certainly for longer periods of time on those Airbnbs and can get some great people.
All right. I like it. I mean, I was thinking of doing it myself. I got some extra time and I'm thinking, hey, why not just do an Airbnb? And,
you can, yeah, for sure.
I can't do it in my house. Obviously, I don't want people trucking through my house.
Yeah, so you'd buy another property. You'd buy it as an investment property, put your 20% down. And then I've had even people Airbnb apartments to where they rent an apartment for a year at whatever that going rate is. And then they Airbnb it out a little bit higher, furnish it. And that way they don't have the 20% to put down as an investment property. They're a little bit more mobile.
Right.
Now they're only into it for a year rather than.
Great.
a longer
just wanted
time.
to get an expert's take on Airbnb. So, certain places there are like workers that go and they have to be in an area. And
Yeah.
they used to stay in hotels, but the hotels, they just nickel and dime you for everything,
And some people need a yard. Airbnbs are great if you have a little yard. If they come with pets or kids or whatever. So yeah, it all depends on what you're looking for. But they are very popular, and I think they're going to stay that way.
I agree. I think the hotels have jumped the shark in terms of prices that they charge since the pandemic, and it was already a trend. But Airbnbs aren't so cheap anymore either. They charge you $100 cleaning fee, and if you're there for a night, what's the point? And like I was recently in Ohio, went for an appointment I had, their business meeting, and my partner says to me, should we get Airbnbs? And I said, look, hotels are so cheap there. We're there for a night. Like, why go through the hassle? Because at Airbnb, there's going to be some check-in process.
Yeah.
You don't just go to the front desk generally and check in.
Right.
So that's a reason to go to a hotel. But
some of the most successful ones that I see, Kerry, they have a theme to them. So it's an experience. There's a lot of them out in Palm Springs that have been redone to look like they're back in the 50s and the 60s. And it's when you take people there and you go there, it's an experience to stay at the Airbnb where it may not be for the hotel. So it's all part of the experience.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Well, dlbmortgageservices.com. Where else do we find you, Deb?
Oh, gosh. Now I'm on TikTok a lot. So you can look for the Dollar Diva on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Just try. There's a Dollar Diva Debbie out there. That's me, or the Dollar Diva. That's me. Cool. So I will be happy to talk to people any way they can.
All right. Hey, thank you, Deb. Always a pleasure. If you've got a question for Deb, shoot an email to kl@kerrylutz.com. You could also post comments on the YouTube video. We will do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. And while you're at the site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com, make sure you sign up for your free newsletter. Deb, been a pleasure. Thanks so much. Talk to you again very soon.
Thanks, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.